Hello, how are you folks today? We are in week 6. You folks have really completed a wonderful previous 5 weeks. I appreciate getting your assignments in. What we're going to look at today, we're going to look at an overall view for the remainder of the semester. Plus we'll be looking at some other material that I want to bring to you. So, this is what the semester looks like overall. And I want you to know that July 1st, of course, you know, is the ending date. I suppose you have a big red star or X or something on the calendar showing you that's an ending date. For July 1st, it's all over with, and I want to thank you folks. I haven't checked recently. By recently, I mean within the last 12 hours or so. But I believe that the class is averaging an A, and I really, really appreciate that. It's not necessary to show your work anymore. You can use your calculator, you can use Excel, you can use a calculator that you find on Google, but it's not necessary to show your work anymore. But I do appreciate the time and the labor that you did put in showing your work. In the Smith videos, and I emphasize this, and I will be emphasizing it again, but in the Smith videos, we have all of the calculations that pertain to statistics. I want you to know that in the Smith videos. Now, respond to just one person if possible. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but if you possibly can, respond to just one person. Now, the assignments to complete will be on before July 1st. I want you to know that. So, it is possible for you to complete this course before July 1st. Now, what we're looking at overall in the course is an overall concept and overall feeling for statistics. And that's what we're looking at. And that is what the reviews will pertain to. This week we are going over T-scores and ANOVA. Now I have some material here on T-scores. Excuse me, I said Z, I meant T. T-scores and ANOVA. As far as ANOVA is concerned, we have some excellent videos on ANOVA that will really help you better understand ANOVA. Okay, there'll be no final in the course. The reviews and your response to the reviews will serve as a final for the course. Now, having said that, I want to go ahead, and since I want to, remind you that this is a short review of statistics. We have the Laura Smith videos, and like I said, all the calculations are in the Laura Smith videos that we use in statistics. Now, the Laura Smith videos were assigned the first week of this course. Then we had more of an assignment a little bit later on as far as the Smith videos were concerned. So I have to excuse me just a little bit, I'm shuffling papers. Overall, remember that statistics is comparing the data to the mean. And we have a random sample or a random sampling. So if we have a large population or if we have a population and we want to select a sample, what basically that means, the random part is very important. The random part is meaning that everyone will have an opportunity to be chosen, but they may not be selected to participate in the study. It's just that they will have an opportunity to be selected. So that is a random sample. Now, if we were going to sample the height of college students, and we picked the first 5 that came in, that could skew the operation. That is not a random sample, because if we had 30 students in the class and we picked the first 5, and that's the way our study was set up, was to pick the first 5, the remaining 25 would not have an opportunity to be selected. Now, having said that, what we're looking at here, then, the next thing is what is statistically significant, and I definitely want to go over that with you. And so I'm going to draw a curve. We have a curve here. And supposedly, this is a normal curve right here. Okay. Now, we have a mean. This is a z-score curve. Z-score curve right here. And so that is 0. And the z-score curves always start with 0. Then we have 3 standard deviations below the mean and 3 standard deviations above the mean. Now these are listed as 1, 2, and 3. And these are listed as a -1, -2, -3. Now, I'm going to visit with you about being statistically significant. Here is what we have here, being statistically significant and belonging to another population. And this is a concept that we have. We have an alpha, we can write it like this, or we can write it like this, of 0.5. Now, alpha you can set wherever you want to. As a researcher, you can set this wherever you want to. Now, what this means is that you have an area here marked off at 1.96 negative, and here, and it's almost a 2, 1.96 positive. Okay, now anything that falls between this level here, we accept the null hypothesis that there is no difference. That's between these two lines right here. Okay, as an example, let's say that I went over with the football team and was going to lift a weight. I'm bringing in a couple of things together here. So we lifted our weights, and just to round numbers off and to make it kind of understandable, let's say that the average weightlifting equals 200 pounds. All the lifting. Took all the lifting. But, I lifted with them, and my X-score will say is 100 pounds. Now, just without figuring or calculating, we can see that this is less, and since it is less, it would go toward the negative side. So it could be way, way, way out here. Let's say that I developed a z-score there of 3. And I'm just putting this down. I'm not figuring it, but it developed a z-score of 3. So that would put me clear outside of the null range. And the null range, remember, is between a negative 1.96, more than that, and less than 1.96. Well, I didn't develop, I'm still in the process of developing. Well, I lifted 100 pounds. So I was way down here. Now, here's another concept that I want you to understand in this, and it's talked about. What basically this means is that I am so far from the mean, as far as my lifting is concerned, that I no longer belong to the population of lifting, and the lift is is the bench press, and I'm so far from the mean that I no longer belong to the population of the football player. I don't belong to that population. I don't lift enough. So, what I do down here, this would be what I would call statistically significant. Say that term. Say it fast, 3 times. Statistically significant because I fall outside of the negative 1.96 range. That means that it is statistically significant and that basically I belong to another population. Now this I want you to understand. What is that other population? Well, we could draw a mean over here, not a mean, excuse me, the curve over here, and what this says here is that I no longer belong to this population here, but I belong to another population, a population who really doesn't lift as much. This is what it is saying. When a calculation, when the data shifts us outside of the area of the null curve, and this is the area of the null curve right in here between the 1.96 negative and 1.96 positive, when we're shifted, that means that we no longer belong to this population, but we belong to another population. Now, in this case, the other population would probably be those who are of a certain age or a certain amount of strength. I don't know what the characteristics of the population would be, but I no longer belong to the population of football players as far as the bench press. That's what we're doing as far as the bench press is concerned. So my score down here, the -3, I'm going to put a -3 here, at a -3 means that I no longer belong to the population of football players, but I belong to a different population. And that other population may have a different mean, it may have different standard deviation values in here. We want to remember that this is 34%, this is 34%, 13%, 13%, 2%, and 2%. So, when something is this far from the mean, that is outside of the area of the null curve, that means that we belong to a new population. We really don't have the figures of the new population, but it belongs to a new population. So when you are asked, what does it mean to be statistically significant, you can say that the calculations show that a score no longer belongs in the area of the null, which is, this is the area of the null, right in here, this is all the area of the null. It no longer belongs to the area of the null, but it belongs to a new population, and that is the meaning of being statistically significant. And we hear the term then, that it no longer belongs to the original population, which I wouldn't belong to the original population, because my lifting is 100 pounds, my z-score is a -3, and the mean for everyone lifting was 200. So being statistically significant, we are so far from the mean that we no longer belong to that population. Okay, this will conclude this part of video 14. I have some more coming up on video 14. Go ahead and take a refreshment, take a break, and come back though. Come back. Don't take a break and travel 100 miles. Come back and watch the remaining videos because there's some important information on there, and I want to review a little bit about some of the material that we have visited about. So until the next video, which will be coming on, prepare yourself, refresh yourself, and get ready to observe.